this language is saying I'm trauma bonded is really just about manipulation. You often see people who are abusive or manipulative exploit therapy speak, or even what they hear on social media, as a way to offload responsibility, as a way to make themselves the victim and avoid accountability. The person who's claiming it, who's also at the same time abusive, is using this as a way to change the conversation, to say to his partner, I'm the one who's being hurt here. Welcome to Fan Mail, a space where I answer your real questions about toxic relationships, narcissistic abuse, and the long road to healing. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. I really appreciate these very fascinating different perspectives that are being asked. And I got a great one from YouTube where the listener asks, how often does the abuser claim that he's trauma bonded? I'm asking because my abuser does this. This is not an uncommon thing to have happen. I'm excited to break this down to discuss what is going on here. You often see people who are abusive or manipulative exploit therapy speak, or even what they hear on social media, as a way to offload responsibility, as a way to make themselves the victim and avoid accountability. Now, let's go back to the original question. Is it possible to be trauma bonded to your partner if you're the abusive individual? Possibly, but rarely. And the statistics around this are unclear and not known because it's not been researched. But could somebody be trauma bonded? So what is a trauma bond? A trauma bond is a relationship, So a trauma bond is a relationship or a bond based upon fear, not based on love. So usually there's something around it that makes that person feel like they have to manage the relationship to keep it safe. So they subject themselves to the needs of their partner in order to preserve the connection. Now, can both partners be trauma bonded? If you're being abused, you may be trauma bonded to your partner out of the need to keep the connection because your partner is threatening the connection through the use of intermittent reinforcement, through threats and manipulation. But is it possible for someone who's abusing you to also be trauma bonded back to you? Well, if you're also being abusive, and is it possible to have two people who have character disorders get into a relationship with each other? Yes, it does happen, probably a little more often than we're aware of. But that's not the majority of these relationships. The majority of these relationships, there's a power in equity, not where it's built on mutual instability. So more likely what's happening in this case is the person who's claiming it, who's also at the same time abusive, is using this as a way to change the conversation, to say to his partner, I'm the one who's being hurt here. I have an issue. I'm the victim here. So what they're essentially doing is they're taking the perspective off of their harmful behavior and instead focusing on the fact that they are being harmed by the nature of the relationship. So here's some things to be able to kind of distinguish. Is there really a trauma bond on the part of your partner who's claiming that they have a trauma bond, but that they're also abusive? Watch out for whether or not there actually is change. Is this person actually remorseful about what they've done and they taking it seriously? Is there real accountability? Or is this just an effort to avoid responsibility, like a way for them to say, I can't help it, for them to somehow be able to force you back into reconciliation without them having to do any of the harder work? Are you seeing manipulation around it, like pressure? Are they being tearful? Are they pleading? But they're not actually being respectful and responsible. Is it possible that this is just really actually more about image management, making themselves look good, rather than really about taking action to get good, to get healthy? So here are some things you might want to watch out for that would help you know whether or not this is an authentic claim or if it's just manipulation. Are they able to see the way in which they've harmed you and admit to that? Are they able to respect your boundaries and do things like if you ask to help you move out and then respect your need for silence and space? Are they beginning treatment and getting real help with this matter? Maybe are they finding some form of schema therapy, CBT, DBT? Are they actually doing trauma-focused work? Are they also in some type of specific abusive program that helps them become less manipulative and exploitative? And most importantly, are you seeing change over a long period of time, not just over a matter of a few minutes to an hour or a day or so or a week or two? Are they able to sustain this for months without you threatening them or intimidating them, without you pleading with them and trying to somehow leverage them into becoming cooperative? Those will say to you that this person really is sincere and they're actually making efforts to change. But often this language is saying I'm trauma bonded is really just about manipulation. It's about conditional accountability. They're just trying to look good and they're really resisting the bigger changes that the relationship needs. So watch out for someone who instrumentalizes therapy speak as a way to take the focus off what they've done to you and make it about they perceive as being done to them. So it comes back to this. We don't really have any information about how often abusive individuals get trauma bonded to their partners. This has just not been researched. But really, we need to look at whether or not this language is part of manipulation or actually a reflection of change, because healthy relationships support and encourage repair. People circle back and do the harder work of reconnecting with their partners and making sure the relationship is healthy and safe for both people. If you hear somebody using any type of language like this, it could be a form of DARVO when they're flipping the script and making themselves a victim instead of owning the fact that they're an offender. Thank you so much for this question. And if you listening today have a question that you would like me to answer on air, please use the link that I'm putting in the show notes to send me in your biggest asks, and I would be happy to answer it for you on air.